The Grey Man Podcast is a veteran-run platform dedicated to sharing authentic experiences from current and former service members. These stories are shared to foster connection, understanding and support within the veteran community. Episodes may contain raw, emotionally charged content that some listeners may find distressing. Listener discretion is advised. The views and opinions expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the Grey Man Podcast, its host or affiliated partners. The Grey Man Podcast assumes no liability for any statements, opinions or representations made by guests during interviews or discussions.
Hope I make it home alive. Oh, hey, Dad, remember that young boy you once taught how to fight? He's scared of death.
G'day, welcome to another episode of the Grey Man Podcast. I'm your host, Harley Fox. If you're a fan of the show and you're watching last week, you'll know that I interviewed Jason Mengel, who is a Vietnam veteran and I believe the longest serving member of the Australian Army with over 50 years of service. Today on the show, I'm interviewing one of his sons, Jason. Jason's had his own career in the Army. After being a military brat growing up with his dad, obviously, he decided to join himself. Went to one Armoured and then got out, came back again as a Truckie. So he's done over a decade of service, had some trials and tribulations within his career and had some stuff to overcome to get to where he is today. Now working as a dive instructor and doing some good things in the community. Really enjoyed the chat with Jason today. I hope you guys enjoy it too. Please do me the favor of hitting that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you a cent. All you do is click subscribe on YouTube. It really helps the channel grow and I really appreciate it. Thanks for being here, guys. Enjoy the podcast. This podcast is brought to you by BAC, Baldwin Advocacy and Claims. The Grey Man Podcast is proud to partner with Kai and his team. More about that during the show. All right. Jason, welcome, mate.
Thank you very much.
No worries. Thanks for being here. We had the last episode was your father.
Certainly was.
The old Lester, longest serving Australian member of the Army.
Yeah. And, you know, like my idol and lots of my mates have also looked up to him over the years. So
yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Mate, over 50 years, I'm sure he's been around the traps and made some connections over that time. He'd know half the Army.
I'll tell you what, the hardest thing about it is the fact that even being out now, there's not many places you can't go with him and people don't recognise him. But one of the most memorable factors was when I went to my little brother's march out parade. I was in IETs at the time and I got released from School of Armour to go up to Kapuka and I was with Dad and we went to my little brother's march out and as we were up at the mess about to have a few drinks, the reviewing officer got out of the car and, you know, all the dignitaries are there and they're all trying to shake the reviewing officer's hand and he just stops, sees Lester and goes, "Oh shit, Lester." Dad runs down there, "G'day mate, how you going?" And I can't remember the guy's rank. I think it was like brigadier or something. Here I am as a little IT just shitting myself because, you know, I've just gotten out of Kapuka myself down to the School of Armour. Yeah. And I'm like, oh crap, here's all this brass. And then because I was with Dad, then all the RIs have got the daggers at me because I look like I'm still at Kapuka. So yeah, it's crazy the amount of people Dad know around the Army world or veteran community.
Did it sort of shed a bit of light on who he was and how high he was when you started going through and learning the rank structure and all that?
Look,
I already knew.
You know, my memories from Dad date back to when I was a wee little boy. You know, back from when I was 3, 4. Dad had always had me involved. So
yeah, right.
I was born in Box Hill in Victoria. At the time, Mum and Dad were posted to Puckapunyal and God bless my mother. I'm pretty sure she refused to have Seymour putting on my birth certificate. So she made the trip all the way to Box Hill to have me. But, you know, as we were growing up in Pucka, Dad was the wing SM of the School of Transport. So, you know, we got to ride in the back of trucks a lot and and Dad knew a lot of people just through Puckapunyal through his rank at the time. We're talking in the late 80s. So
yeah, he'd already been in for 25 years.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, we got to experience a lot that a lot of kids didn't get to experience growing up. So, going through that, and then growing up and doing all the postings with him, kind of knew what I was going to be in for, and and even at that early stage, all I knew was army, and I knew that I was going to grow up to join the army. And as much as mum tried in high school to get me to choose another career path than joining the army, it just didn't work out.
What was it like as a young military brat moving around and stuff?
For me, easy. I was a super social kid, so I just got into my routine pattern. Every 4 years, we would go to a new place, and I just meet new friends and move on with life.
Yeah.
And just found it super easy, and I just think that just makes it part of the personality that I am today. So even today, I can walk into a pub and just start having a chat with someone, and before I leave the pub, I know everyone's first names, everyone's hobbies, and and what they get up to on the weekend. So
yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a social butterfly.
Nice. Did that trait pick up with your siblings as well?
Oh shit, no, no. So
so it wasn't just because you were moving around; it was just who you are.
Yeah, like my brother was the complete opposite. He struggled to leave friends and make new friends and whatnot. And yeah, he just had a really, really hard time. But I guess that's the difference. Like, these days you'd look at him and go introvert, extrovert, and like he doesn't like he likes his computer games and doing his type of stuff, where I like it getting out and about and doing social activities.
Yeah, right. Meeting people.
Yeah.
I guess. Let me know if you ever see that light go off.
Yep.
It's happened before.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, cool, man. So moving around every 4 years. Were you and your siblings sort of close? Did that bring you close together? Or?
So me and my brother, we've always been thick of thieves. Mum and dad had daughters from previous relationships, and we weren't so much as close with them as we were together. But my brother and I, we were always thick. Like we're closer now than we've ever been, especially with him still being in and serving together. But even just growing up, I wouldn't even know how to describe it. Just, he was my little brother, so I'd always look after him. There were a few instances in school where I was a victim of bullying my whole entire life.
Oh, really?
But I was a big chubby kid.
Oh, okay.
So I wasn't in the sports. So I wasn't in the sports growing up. I was a big chubby kid. The only reason I even look the way I do today is because I had gastric sleeve surgery 18 months ago next week.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, I've always been the bigger kid, and I could never drop the weight no matter what I did. But my brother was the complete opposite. He was a skinny little runt. So he would always get bullied. And as soon as I figured out in high school that I had weight behind me, God's gift. There was
people.
Not even tackle. I could just literally push people.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like there was one time my little brother was getting bullied, so I just walked up and just pushed, used my body weight and pushed the kid into a brick wall, and he fell down. So I've always been Sam can look after himself, but I've always been a protective big brother.
How many years is there between you?
There's 18 months.
Okay.
So nothing.
Yeah, pretty much the same age. Nice. What was your favourite place you reckon when you shipping around different places?
To be completely honest, I didn't really have a favourite. We didn't do a lot of moving. So we moved between Pucker up to Sydney, up to Mackay for a short stint, and then when we moved to Brisbane, here we stopped, and mum put her foot down with dad and was like, you know what? I want my boys to stay in their one spot to finish off primary school and for high school, and then they can make their own lives up after that on what they want to do. So so predominantly we did most of our teenage years here in Brisbane over on Bribie Island.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so I went to finished off primary school at Bribie Primary, and then went to Grace Lutheran College in Rothwell there. So.
There you go.
Yeah, and then even after all that, I still ended up in the army.
Moving around again.
Yeah.
So what did you want to go in as?
Medic.
And they
So-
told you some of the sweet little nothings at,
Oh.
at Crewman.
Yeah, like, you know, it's so good, like, you know, years on, and you know, at the time you just like, you don't know why, but then years later you're always like, yeah, bloody righto, it's just the numbers game. So
Yeah, you believe them at the time.
yeah, so I wanted to be a paramedic for Queensland Ambos, but I wasn't smart enough. And I guess that was another reason why I joined the Army, was the fact that my school turned around and said to me that, Jason, we don't want you going for an OP because there's a high possibility that you might bring down the whole school's average grade. So I was, you know, at that time I was considering becoming a school teacher, and I was like, yep, righto, no worries. And they turned around and said, if you don't do an OP, then you know, you can go down this path and you get, you know, half days on this day and you get this day off. So I just saw days off school, and you know, as a young teenager, I was like, suits me. And then by then I was like, you know, I want to go either Queensland Ambulance. But then I found out that I had needed an OP for that back then. But so then I was like, fuck it, going for the Army, and I'll go become a combat medic. What I didn't know was it's not that easy. So went and did my Joe's Day in the city, passed it with flying colours, did the psych and medical, passed that with flying colours, and it all came down to the interview. And they're like, Jason, you don't have any certifications in first aid. And I rocked up kind of dressed like I am today. And they're like, Jason, you don't have a suit on, you don't have a portfolio. And I was like, righto, no worries. And they're like, we'll see you in a year.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, so I went away. I did first aid courses. I did I did everything up to occupational first aid. So I went out and did every first aid course you could dream of. St. John's Ambulance was like, someone's spending money. This is all while I was in year 12 at school. And when it end of year 12, it came up again to go back to DFR, went back again. This time I wore a suit, had my portfolio from Grace, and because we had already been practicing for interviews. And I rocked up to DFR, went through the process again, came up to the interview, and they told me I was overdressed. Only officers need portfolios, and what the fuck was I thinking?
What?
And I was just thinking, like, first I was underdressed, now I'm overdressed, and I just laid my cards out. I was like, right, guys, obviously you don't want me being a medic. What do you want me to be? And they're like, have you ever thought about becoming a tank crewman? And I was like, fuck no, what is this? And they're like, well, we've got the job for you. How would you like to be a M1A1 Abrams crewman? And I'm like, I don't know what that is. Also, at that time, the M1A1s hadn't come in. We're still on the Leopards. And they're just like, okay, so you're going to go to Kapooka. We're going to sign you up as a tank crewman, and we're going to send you with this form, and we want you to give it to your recruit instructor at basic. The form being a PE 166 application and core transfer to combat medics.
Yeah, they fucking
So-
in the bin.
Yeah. So you could imagine day one at Kapooka, you know, after we're getting dragged off the bus and you know, we're getting marched down to our lines, and I'm going up to that door, doof, 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 recruit Mengel. And I go to hand my corporal this P166 application to core transfer, and he just looks at me, he's like, how the fuck did you get this? And I was just like, my recruiter gave it to me. And yeah, it didn't help. You know, I got told I got told that I've got to give the core a go, and I've got to give the job a go. So I was sealed in there as a tanky. So
You never did any research on other roles?
No,
Growing up?
no. Look, I think at that stage I was just desperate to get in, and they knew I was desperate to get in. So you know, they obviously they had a quota to fill, and they saw that I was short. So yeah, don't get me wrong. Like it was
turret plug.
Yeah, it was a good job. It was a good job. So, you know, after Kapooka, I went down to the school, and I kept trying to get out of armor. So, you know, even down at the School of Armor, I was like, application call transfer, and they're like, nope, you haven't given one armor to go. So, you know, went through the School of Armor, and went through as a Leopard 1 AS4 driver. So, you know, that wasn't a Abram tank either. you know, the Abrams didn't even come into service until 2 years after I enlisted. So the only thing the recruiter got right was that I was on the first M1A1 conversion course in Australia.
Okay.
So I don't know how he plugged that from the future, but it was the only thing he got right. But yeah, so went through School of Armour. I had, you know, as I said, like weight's always been my issue. So I always had issues with BFAs and basic fitness, and I'd always get drilled and punished for it. And
What year was this?
this was 2005.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 2005.
You're in your 40s.
Pardon?
You're in your 40s.
Yeah, I turn 40 next year.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. No, I know.
Looking good, mate. Baby face.
Yeah. I shaved just for that reason. And I'm going to keep milking it while I can. Like the grey hairs have just started coming through and I'm trying to milk it out as long as possible. Like the only reason I still shave my head is to hide the grey hairs.
Still getting asked for ID at the clubs.
Except instead of now me arguing with him, I'm like, oh, you. Yeah. So yeah, even in 2005, you know, I struggled with BFAs and struggled with it all. And after completing my driver's course, I got held back at the School of Armour because I couldn't pass a BFA. But then as soon as I passed my BFA, I was straight up to First Armoured. And the old welcome to First Armoured was, you know, rock up and the very next day you go on field.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So no acclimatization, it's off you go. So yeah, it was an experience.
You straight in the driver's seat, or you got a bit of? Oh, really?
Yep. So with First Armoured at the time, you go into a driver's position first. Usually driver's position first, usually under the sergeant, the troop sergeant, and then from there you can move up into a loader's position. But you come out of the school qualified as a driver loader. How's
that feel as a young pimply-faced kid jumping in the driver's seat of a tank?
You know what? You don't think about, like, well, I didn't think about it much, you know, until years later. You know, like there were a lot of, for myself, I had my piece until I got the Darwin, then, you know, instant open license, which was great. But, you know, it's like to be able to, you drive a car and then you're jumping behind a 48-ton vehicle or a 68-ton vehicle, and, you know, the amount of damage those vehicles can do, you don't think about till years later. You're like, shit, I could have really fucked something up, or could have really fucked myself up. But even like back in those days, you know, you would get a few bumps, bruises or concussions and, you know, you wouldn't think about anything. You just shut up, crack on with your job. And then once again,
bouncing around in the tank.
Yeah. Oh, there'll be a few times where the MVG technology back then wasn't as good as what it was now. So, you know, when we're fanging around in the leopards at, you know, 40 k's an hour cross terrain, the old fishbowl in the driver's hole, or even the MVGs back then, they didn't really have good depth perception. So we're forever hitting ditches. So you can be fat arming up in the turret, and the next minute you're waking up in the floor of the turret because, you know, the driver's hit a donger, you've flown down and knocked yourself out on the coax gun, and now you're waking up to the crew commander like prodding you with a bloody with a cam pole, being like, "Are you fucking alive down there?" But, you know, once again, like they were back in the days where you don't think about, you know, you just shake it off, go back to your job and crack on and be like, fuck, that was a bit rough.
Yeah.
And then, you know, 10 years later, you're like, fuck, I should have gone and seen a medic or had that put in my med docs.
You can't remember fucking what you need from the grocery store, or?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Am I just getting old, or do I have CTE?
Yeah, or one of the biggest things I've been thinking about is TBI, traumatic brain injury. From
the blast over
yeah,
pressure? Yeah,
because, you know, back in the leopards, it was rare. It was very rare for us to go like close down in a turret, like closing all your hatches. But in the Abram, because we initially were being promised deployments, we were training to be hatched down all the time. So, you know, you hear about the 88, you know, firing the 88s and grenades with TBI, and I'm like, okay, what about the inside of a turret? All it is metal, and we're firing 105 on the Leopards and then 120 on the Abrams.
Fucking.
You know, the amount of percussion that's going around, bouncing around in that turret, and our bodies are absorbing that.
Yeah.
You know, it would explain why I've got to keep so many lists these days. You know, like shit, I'm 39 and my wife is like, we had a conversation. What was it? We had a conversation about something last night, and she's like, I know, I told you that. And I'm like, okay, great. Fuck. But one of her greatest stories that she loves telling everyone is there's a scuba diving trade show, the largest one in the world. It's in Germany every year, called the Boat Show. And apparently when we first started dating, she told me about it. And I didn't realize that she told me about it. And one of the sales reps for one of the scuba diving brands here in Australia, he popped in and he's like, oh, have you ever heard about the boat show? And I'm like, no, what's that all about? And he told me all about it. And I turned around to my wife, Sonia, and I'm like, hey, Sonia, have you ever heard about this boat show in Germany? Man, you know, that happened 10 years ago, and she still reminds me about it today.
Yeah, I'm the same. I wonder, always forget stuff. And I'm like, just getting old, or is it all those punches and kicks in the head and bloody blast pressure and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, but then you think about the amount of stuff that we did back then too. You know, it's definitely a different army today, or a different defense force today than what it was back then.
And they only seem to be looking at certain things as well. Like they're looking at the Cargill stuff and stuff. But then there's like there's seven rounds, right, for a Cargill stuff.
Yeah.
How many rounds do fucking mortars put down range in a day? Fucking hundreds. And then you got, in tanks, you got 25 mils in the ASLAVs, you got the fucking 105s in the tanks. And they don't have the same safety.
Don't forget about the M1A1 have got the 50 cals in them too, and you know they're mounted right next to your ear. I remember doing my crew commander course, and in the AS4s, and I was just, you know, in that goes for a few months, and it's just like you got headaches end of the day because the 50, you've just been firing that 50, doing battle runs all day long, and you don't think about it until later on in life, and you're just like, huh. Yeah, that would explain a lot.
Yeah. One of my mates was in the Battle of Derapet in Afghan in a fucking ASLAV with 214.
Yep.
And he was like, I don't know how many rounds they put down range that day in the battle, but it was a lot.
Yeah.
And he didn't have hearing problem. He said he couldn't hear, and he had a migraine for like a week, and he couldn't hear anything for about 2 or 3 days afterwards.
Yeah. That's crazy. That is, yeah.
Yeah, that's does a lot of damage. There's a lot of research going into it at the moment. I think Vigil, the research company that's really digging into it. Had Andrew Jennings on that's going through a bit of stuff with this. He got officially diagnosed with TBI and CTE because of the last being a safety supervisor on the range with the 84s.
Yeah, right. A lot of research I tried looking into a few years ago was the connection between managing back injuries and PTSD and scuba diving.
Oh yeah.
So
just the putting your gear on. I guess if you fucking put it on in the water, but putting your gear on and then standing up and walking to the side of the boat is kind of difficult when you got a sore back.
Yeah, it can be, but there's programs out there. So we were doing this program called Scubility, and so we adapt the diving around the individual. So I became a Scubility instructor. I think it was 2016 or 18. It was pre-COVID. And becoming a Scubility instructor, I can take people who are quadriplegic scuba diving.
Yeah, right.
So people that can't feel anything from the neck down. Which was pretty cool. But I got into scuba diving years before I got injured or got diagnosed with PTSD. But through scuba diving, I found that I was feeling better, just both mentally and physically. And then I started getting a few mates into it, and they started taking off and enjoying it. So then I started researching it, and it's huge over in the States. Like they got massive veteran programs over there, and whatnot. But it's so hard with the amount of red tape in Australia to get anything really going.
Especially in Queensland, it's the number one regulated scuba diving in the world.
The most regulated. Too much red tape. Way too much red tape.
It was right after I got out of the Navy, I started scuba diving. Me and my mate, we got out about the same time.
Yep.
And we went and did our open water together, and then we did our advanced immediately afterwards. And then he sort of just became a casual diver, and I fucking fell in love with it. So I went and did a bunch of specialties and deep wreck, nitrox, rescue, and then I became a dive master and started working on liverboards as a dive guide.
Yeah. And then it just got to the point where you just like, doesn't pay enough. I don't like this.
Nah. Fuck, paid none of the peanuts.
Yeah.
I think we got paid $50 a day and then free diving.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. This
is not a career option. So I was like, all right, well, how can I turn this into a money-making thing? So I went to uni as a marine biologist.
Yep.
Did 6 months of that microbiology and chemistry and shit. And I went, this ain't it. And then I was talking to guys that had finished, and they're like, our whole life is just writing research grants and begging for money to dive. And I was like, yeah, nah. So I changed my degree to exercise physiology.
Yeah. There's definitely no money in scuba diving.
I remember back in, so that was 06, 07 when I did that. And then there was so many shops around Brisbane.
Yeah.
And now they're all
gone. Yeah, there's literally only a handful now. So now I scuba diving wise, I just got myself into a niche market. And I don't even do it for the money anymore. I just do it for my own sanity and keep my hands working. So I service dive equipment, but I also take people diving overseas.
Oh, yeah.
So because I was like, I wasn't enjoying teaching like the learn to dive divers, and I was like, I just want to do something different. So I just started taking groups of people overseas, and then I fell in love with technical diving. So, diving below 40 meters down to 100, either on open circuit or closed circuit rebreathers. And I just fell in love with that type of stuff.
You must be pretty switched on that's quite scientific, all that shit. Getting certifications for all that.
Yeah, 100. Like, I wouldn't call myself switched on at no level. Like, shit, no. Fuck, man, I was a tanky. Like, I definitely wasn't switched on. But I guess what it comes down to is it's a lot of it's just repetitiveness. So, like anything, you educate yourself enough, you do enough things repetitively that things become natural to you. So, when I first became a dive instructor, I hated teaching physics and physiology. I hated it. I couldn't get my head wrapped around Boyle's law or any of those things.
Yeah, these days, chemistry and science and shit.
These days I love it. I love it, but that's just because of all the courses and hard work I did to get where I was now. So I love getting to the nitty gritty stuff of how the bubbles work in the system and how you on gas versus off gas and how different gases work to help in the body.
Yeah, right.
But the thing I love most is wreck diving. Because being an Army brat, and the amount of conflicts around the world, there's so many wrecks there, and they're just everywhere, and they're just so easy to get to these days.
Yeah, nice.
It's just
I've only done penetration wise. There's HMAS Brisbane up in Mooloolaba.
Yep. So that's closed at the moment for penetration, but the boys up there are trying to work on it to get it open. So from the cyclone damage last year, they're just going through trying to get it reassessed to open up. But man, you got to get overseas. You've got Truck Lagoon. So
that's where all the tanks and aeroplanes and
so you've got over 100 wrecks between 15 to 40 meters. So any recreational diver can do it, and you've got like tanks, trucks. Like it was a staging area that the Yanks found by mistake. Then they started Operation Hailstorm and just went in there for 3 days and just bombed the shit out of it. And then you've got Bikini Atoll up there as well. So post World War II.
PNG?
No, Micronesia. So you've got Bikini Atoll up there as well. So at the end of World War II, the Yanks wanted to show the world their nuclear capability. So they got one of every naval fleet they've got, and then one piece of naval shipped from every other country around the world, including Germany and Japan. Dragged them all into one area, and they detonated 2 nuclear bombs in Bikini Atoll. So they detonated the first one underwater, and the second one they dropped by aeroplane. And these wrecks are just, oh my God, just prestige.
Oh, really? We're not
yeah.
all fucked up from the bombs?
Yeah, like they're opened up and whatnot. But there's one shipwreck there called the USS Saratoga, and it's an aircraft carrier.
Yeah, right.
So, we did 5 2-hour dives on it, and it still wasn't enough to discover it all. It was just next level. But yeah, like
have to get up there for sure.
100%. Like I only started scuba diving in 2010, and that was just because actually, was it 2010? Yeah, and end of 2010, my brother was posted to Townsville, and I just discharged. And we were just sitting at home, flicking through the newspaper. Not that, many kids would know what a newspaper is these days. But yeah, we were flicking through the newspaper, and we're just like trying to find something to do. And we'd open it up, and there was an open water dive course for $3.99 on Magnetic Island. And I was like, want to go do this? And he's like, fuck yes. And yeah, from there we went and did our open water learn to dive course. And then from there, after that, we did advance. And then I fell in love with that, and he didn't so much. So, I just like yourself, I just accelerated through and just started doing specialties and whatnot. And went from there. But before that, I used to jump out of airplanes. So, yeah.
Did you become a skydive instructor as well?
No, I wanted to, but I gave up jumping out of airplanes. I won too many close calls. So I took up skydiving when I was in high school.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So while most kids were planning graduation and going to school parties parties on weekends and whatnot, I was working at Woolworths on my evenings and weekends, saving up my pretty pennies, and went and did my A license accelerated freefall course.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, did that at the age of 16.
You like all the expensive hobbies.
Well, yeah, sure. Now I've got bloody horses too. So yeah, I definitely love the expensive hobbies.
You also ski or snowboard over in Switzerland?
I don't, but my brother does.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I fell in love with skydiving, and I wanted to work my way up to an instructor. But yeah, just one too many close calls, and I was just like, I was getting cocky, as you do, like in any sport. When you start doing it too often, you start getting confident, you start getting a bit cocky, and
a bit complacent.
Yeah, I on my last jump, I missed the drop zone by ages, and I ended up landing in a sugar cane field, and you don't realize how spiky sugarcane is until you land in the middle of the paddock, and it hooks you up, and it hooks your parachute up and everything, and then yeah, it was just like I was like, because at that time I was scuba diving and skydiving, and I was just like, I think it's time to hang the parachute up.
Pick one.
Yeah.
How many jumps do you do?
I only ended up with around, I can't remember exactly, but it was somewhere between 500 and 600.
Holy fuck!
So. Yeah, it was an addiction. Once again, like I'd done it when I was in high school. So when I joined the army, when I was down at Puckapunyal, I was up in Nagambie every weekend, jumping out of airplanes, jump after jump. So that's where everyone was blowing their money on piss. I was blowing money on jumping out of airplanes. And then when you get posted up to Darwin, people say you've either got 3 hobbies. You're either fishing, hunting, or drinking. I drive all the way out the Bachelor on my weekends and start jumping out of airplanes. And then even when it started getting a bit expensive, I picked up a side hustle job bouncing on Mitchell Street on weekends. So then I'd go to army Monday to Friday, bounce Friday, Saturday, and then skydive any other time I had around that. So
yeah, right.
Yeah, it was an addiction.
Yeah, you call yourself a addicted personality?
Oh, 100%.
At least it was somewhat healthier than alcohol. Alcohol's a slow death. At least skydiving's a fast death if you.
Oh yeah.
It takes you out.
I definitely didn't. I definitely didn't avoid the alcohol in Darwin. I was right in there, but I preferred to go hang out at the drop zones on weekends than I did hanging out with my fellow AJs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Let's say 5 to 10. You only did 5 years.
So the first time, I enlisted in 05 and I was out in 2010, and then I lasted 6 months out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got suckered back in. I struggled. I hated being in, and like high school, I got bullied a hell of a lot when I was in.
Oh, really?
Up and down. Yeah, 100%. It was
By your unit?
Yep, by my own troop. It got pretty bad. It got pretty bad that there was a violent altercation one night in the live-in lines that just resulted in me just not wanting to be a part of the military anymore. So as soon as my discharge date came up, I was out.
You took your end of rose.
Yep. So I got out, but then I struggled on the outside world. So I missed the mateship and camaraderie. But the biggest thing that I struggled with was the grey zone. I like everything in the army. It's all black and white. It's yes, no, can do, can't do. I struggle with the whole maybe, possibly, we'll think about it.
yeah, we'll let you know.
Yeah, and so, like I was out for 6 months. I was bouncing in Flinders Street in Townsville, and I had I just wanted to be back in. So I was in active reserve at the time. So I immediately went back to active reserve. Unfortunately, there was no armoured positions in Townsville at the time, so I had a choice of either infantry, engineer, or transport. And I was like, well, fuck walking around with a pack on my back. I'd just been up in Darwin for the last 5 years. So for the last 4 years because I did a stint down at school. So I was like, fuck watching engineers, fuck building shit to blow it back up, because that's all I ever saw the engineers do. They'd always build bridges and then blow them up in front of us. And I was like, well, I'd already been driving the Land Rover illegally for my last year up in Darwin. I might as well go get all my codes. So, I became a truckie. I became a truckie, an active reservist truckie at 11 Sisby up there. And I lasted another 6 months as a reservist, getting all my qualifications. And even that was hard. One Armoured at the time in Darwin was a completely different culture to what it is today and what the military is today. And I think we were definitely bred differently back then. So, it was back in the time before, and I don't mean this sexist or anything, but it was back when the corps were all male corps. So it was as I was getting out, they were just bringing the females into the non-combat roles. So they were bringing them in as the medics, the clerks, the QEs, the truckies, and that was awesome. But when I came as a tanky to a truckie and I was in a reserve position, I had to start minding all my P's and Q's. And I was just known for dropping the C-bomb like no tomorrow. Getting yelled at, getting told off for that when it was just like I was saying it without even thinking about it. And that was once again, that was back then too. So I'm talking end of 2010, beginning of 2011. These days, recently I was up at 2Cav and bloody the girls swear more than the boys. So, it's just completely different culture and everything back then. And it was also difficult coming from a combat core unit where, it's expensive to send armor field. So, when they're sending us to Portuguesa or out to Mount Bundy, we're going for long periods of time. So then when you come to a Choco unit, we don't do much field because, you drive up the range, you do your weekend, you come back. So, it was different. But at the same time, it was also eye-opening because lots of things I thought I'd learnt, I hadn't learnt, like keep my mouth shut. You would have thought that I would have learnt to keep my mouth shut my second time back in, but no. I was a gob the first time in. I was a gob the second time back in. It just, it's just because I'm such a outgoing character. But So sorry. I ended up getting back in end of 2010, and then I was medically. I ended up going back into full time after that, and then I was medically separated in 2016.
Okay, so you went back full time as a truckie.
Yeah.
So did your quals as a chock?
So I did all my quals as a chock, and then I got a phone call one day from 3 Brigade, being like, "Oh, hey, just curious, would you be interested in going back in full time?" And I was like, "Yes." Do I regret that option now? Nah. But the first time when I got out, I didn't really get to leave on my own terms, so I didn't really get to have my ending. So yeah, I was keen to get back in, and I was also it was peak deployment period, so I was keen for a trip. So it's like all my mates have gone on trips. I was keen to get. I missed it out. I missed out on trips the first time, just wrong time, wrong place. So I was keen to get back in, and even after both stints in the army, still never got a trip.
If you've ever had to lodge a DVA claim, you know how it can feel like a full-time job. Between the endless paperwork, the complex fine print, and trying to navigate the bureaucracy, the system can completely wear you down. That is exactly why we've partnered with Kai Baldwin and the team at BAC, Baldwin Advocacy and Claims. Kai and his team are professional advocates. Their entire job is to step into your shoes, take over the communication with DVA, and ensure you actually get the support and outcomes you're entitled to. You don't have to stress over the jargon or spend months fighting the system on your own. BAC handles the heavy lifting from start to finish. What I respect most about Kai is his straightforward approach. BAC operates on a completely fixed fee. There's no hidden percentages, no guessing games, and they have strict ethical standards built into how they operate. I want you to know I don't take this recommendation lightly. I truly believe Kai has your back. You don't have to navigate the DVA system alone. Let the professionals handle it. Head over to baldwinclaims.com.au and see how Kai and the BAC team can help. Back to the show. You mentioned a bit of a contradiction before that's worth exploring, that you were relentlessly bullied by your troop, but you missed the camaraderie and mateship.
100%. I was so I was relentlessly bullied by my troop and
fellow soldiers or chain of command?
No, both. Fellow soldiers did the mental and physical injuries. Chain of command covered it up. Swept it under the rug. It was actually pretty traumatic, where I was a part of the DARTS, the Defence Abuse Report Task Force, and I was in the top 5 of as a victim. But in saying that, a unit is made up of hundreds of people. Just because members of the troop at the time did that, there were other members in other troops who I was still close and friends with. So, it's like my very first crew commander who looked after me all the way back in those days, being fellow WOGs. He posted down to the school, and literally this year is like the first time he's really left the school in like almost 20 years. Right. And it's like I've always kept in contact, and we've always chatted and whatnot. And I opened up to him when I went down, did a crew commander course as a pogue. And he had no idea, but it's like the mateship we had. He was just a genuine person, someone I could fall back on. And there was another guy who I still chat to today, Brenton. He was in a different squadron to me, but we weren't even close at the time. But after the stuff that happened to me by my troop, and I was forced evicted off base into off base accommodation, he moved in as like my guardian at the time. But we became good mates, and we stayed close mates over the years. And it's just like I did a lot of growing up in those years, and I grew up fast.
What about your old man that was would have been an RSM at the time, I imagine.
Yeah, he was an RSM back when I was in high school, but he'd already walked over to become an officer then. And
was there any reaching out to ask for advice or assistance from?
that's what killed me. That's what killed me. That's what killed my career in Armoured. Right in the beginning of being in Armoured Corps, I always thought I was going to be a lifer in tanks. I loved the job. I was 18 years old. We were punching bombs. I was driving this vehicle, like smashing through trees. My troop sergeant, even turned around and said, at the time, he was like, "You're a shit soldier on base, but you're a fucking brilliant soldier outfield." And I was like, "That's good enough for me." But I used to reach out. So when things would happen, and also being an Army brat, I experienced a lot growing up too. As things would happen, and I would reach out to Dad for advice, and I was only seeking advice. Dad would take it personally, and because of his rank and position, he would then get involved, and it would bite me in the ass. And it sucked. Like, it sucked, but I understand, decades later, I understand what he did when he did it at the time, because, if I had kids and my kid went through that, I'd be doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, especially if you had the power to do so.
But I think also, it's like you've got Armoured Corps and then you've got tanks. First Armoured back then was a very specialized job. There was 2 postings. There was First Armoured and there was the school. That was it. Unlike these days, not so much these days, you've got 2 cav or you've got the school. But, before that, you had postings. You could go Townsville, Brisbane, the school, Adelaide. So you had lots of choice. So, having such a small posting cycle in one Armoured, that led to lots of or a slow career progression, because ranks aren't moving around that much, and it just led to its own little in-house. And and it was an old school culture, but I think the hardest thing was I asked questions. I asked the whys. Because I want to better understand and become a better soldier.
Yeah.
But my corporals and my sergeants didn't like giving me why. It's like, go scrub, like they'd give me a stupid job, like, go scrub the tank pads. And you're like, why? It doesn't make sense, because we've just hosed them off. Why would I go over there with a nail brush and scrub it? That's, it feels like you're setting me up for something. And they were setting me up, but I'd just taken their fun away from them. Because I asked why, instead of going over there and doing, something silly. Because I became the why man, I became the gob. So, then I need to be put back in my place. So then, I'd be put back in my place through physical punishment. So then, there was, I'd call my dad, who was, like my father and like my mentor and my go-to man. And I'm like, because growing up, I'd never seen corporals do this to their diggers, or I'd never see sergeants do this. Like, even when I was in high school, and not that I really admit this often, that I was in school cadets, buddy, here in Brisbane.
Your dad already told us.
Thanks, Dad. I played drums in high school. So when Dad was the regimental sergeant major of Queensland University Regiment, they had a band. So I was a part of their band as a school cadet. Oh, so I was mixing with them, right? And I never saw any of this to when then I get to a combat corps full-time unit, and it's just like the hazings and everything. They're all well and good, but sometimes you got to draw a line, and those lines just weren't drawn. And
what's an example of a hazing?
Oh, so okay. So the original hazing that happened to me up at One Armoured was I just unpacked my bags and because I was a couple of weeks later than the rest of the diggers got posted up because I failed the BFA. They're like, oh, come over to these lines. We're about to have some drinks, and I was like, yeah, righto, easy none. I walk into the room and I got jumped by 4 people and they pulled my pants down, bent me over a bed and flogged me with a paddle that said welcome. And I was like, yeah, that's hazing. That's what it is. Then, when you go to your squadron, they do another hazing where, it's like they've got the big 105 shell and they fill it full of all the spirits and beers and leftover and a bit of grease off the barbie and whatnot. And, you're down it. But it was the bashing between the armored vehicles, and I mean proper bashings, that I was like, okay, these guys are meant to be your mates. These guys are meant to be ones that you can rely on. These are the guys that you go bush for 2 to 3 months at a time. And now I'm being hospitalized.
Yeah, right.
Because
it's more targeted because it was just you.
Yeah.
It was happening to.
Yeah. But once again, it wasn't a hazing that happened to me. I'd received bullying up at the regiment, and I'd won it out, but my Rosso wasn't out, and after chatting to my parents, they thought that it might be, that we were looking at different ways of getting me out because I was getting bullied pretty bad. And the bullying was partially because of my weight, partially because I'm an army brat, partially because my partner at the time was a Darwin single mum who wouldn't hold back, mouthing off. But it's like, I can take a lot of crap, but it was when they would break into my living room and they would smash up my laptop and they thought that was fun, or they would I would go to football training and would have a room inspection the next day, and they would break into my room and they would put a dozen eggs in the microwave and put them on high so they would explode and burn. It was all that I could kind of take, but it built up. But it was the physical assault of my troop and having beer bottles smashed over me, getting flogged and being burnt by cigarette butts.
Fucking hell.
That sent me into a psychosis. It was an experience.
Fuck.
Yeah. And then, it was all because I wouldn't walk down the front line and buy him a carton of cigarettes, and I don't smoke. So, I'd already bought in a few cartons of beer because, sorry, we're a bit off track.
That's all right, dude. Fuck it.
Because I've just jumped a whole timeline. I've just jumped from bloody one thing to another.
That's definitely not hazing. That's proper fucking physical assault and abuse.
Yeah, but that was the culture back then. And once again, before that had happened, back when they were just breaking into my room and bullying me and whatnot, there was an opportunity at work where they were like, okay, some people have dropped out to go down to Support Squadron School of Armour. Who wants to go? And I was like, fuck yes, get me out of this place. So I went down and did a posting down School of Armour, and it didn't get better down there. It kind of got worse. I tried being a grey man down there, but all the shit from up there had followed me down because, everyone up at One Armoured are coming down to do crew commander courses, subject for corporal and whatnot, or they're coming down as guest instructors. So stuff followed me down there. So, I kept taking the bullying. Like there was one instance where I got tackled by two guys, and they gave me a little bit of a touch up. It wasn't much, like it was a little bit of a touch up. Like I know it sounds bad, but you know, I'd already been touched up so many times, like flogged. I was just used to it. But then they wrapped me up in about 50 meters of Hessian, and then they dumped me in a cage and left me. And I was like, what are you going to do? I didn't fight it. I just took it because I didn't know any better. Like, you know, what do you do? And then, you know, there was a few times where I'd call my dad in tears because I could call my mum, and like mum's always a supportive mum, but, you know, I'd call my dad, and then my dad gets worked up, as you do being a father. And at the time, he was a major in Div headquarters as a safety officer, you know, answering to like chief of army and whatnot. So, and you know, dad being in since 68, he knew lots of people. So he'd start calling people around Pucker, you know, like call up my OC and be like, do you know about this? So then, you know, shit rolls downhill, doesn't it? You know, the OC calls up the SSM. The SSM buddy goes down to the troop leader, down to the troop sergeant. Troop sergeant's like, why the fuck do you have your mobile phone at work? And I'm like, you know, and then I'm like, I'm sorry, you know. So then I have my mobile phone taken off me. And then, you know, and then I get punished. So, you know, not what happened to you. It's like, why'd you have your, you know? So then I got a reputation of calling daddy, which once again, like, I didn't do it as an army brat. I called my dad up as a father for support because I didn't have any support. Like I didn't have any mates at that time. I was running away to Ngambie on weekends skydiving, and that was the only sanity I had. And I'd met a warrant officer class 1 up there called Phil Pham, who was the chief parachute rigger for the Australian Army. And he's like, bro, you know, if life's that bad, like come become a parachute rigger. Sweet. You know, put an application called transfer in, parachute rigger. Denied.
Through your chain.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So over my career expand, I put 12 application call transfers in, didn't get one.
Why the fuck wouldn't they let you out if they were having too much fun fucking harassing you?
Oh, no. So I, once again, didn't learn this till years later. So when you put in an application to call transfer, your sergeant writes his notes, yeah? Then your troop leader writes his notes based off the sergeant because sergeant's the one that's hanging out with you. Then your OC writes their notes, but the OC writes their notes off and recommendation off what the troop leader thinks. Then it goes to the CO. The CO recommends whatever the OC. So it all comes down to the troop sergeant. So, you know, I'm this pest that's calling my dad. So my punishment is no suit for you. So, you know, like, yeah. So I couldn't get out of the corps, couldn't get out of the job. So then when I posted back up to 1 Armoured, everything happened the second I marched in. We just marched in. We just marched in. We were doing the beginning of year briefs, and it was between those 2 days we had the block get together, and that's when I was assaulted and put in hospital. And I was like, I'm done. I need out, but I couldn't get out. And then I was like, I need out of 1 Armoured, but they wouldn't let me out of 1 Armoured. So the regiment's choice at the time was all the offenders. We're putting them on an instant deployment to East Timor as carrier drivers and crew commanders. You're going to become a clerk down at the operational support squadron. And I was like, righto.
Fuck, no.
Don't get me wrong. It was great learning the job of a clerk. Mate, you can dodgy up shit to look after the boys as a clerk. Like, oh.
Yeah, clerks have a lot of power.
So at the same time, I was also suffering from shin splints, and which was funny. Before getting shin splints myself, I thought anyone with shin splints was just a fucking linger. You know, I was like, you fucking lingers. And then
mental health, the invisible injury.
Yeah, like because I was such a fatty, the PDI's cure to being a fatty was run.
How heavy were you?
Over 100. So, I was short and fat. being, half of me is German, the other half of me is Wog. The Maltese side of me, man, just got me. And I tried everything. I tried diets, I tried exercise, I tried Duromine. Soldiers these days get it so easy because they've got access to the sleeve and that type of surgery. I only just found out about it 18 months ago. And it's a mate of mine who is still in today. He was one of the very first candidates in the ADF to get the sleeve, and he is a remarkable man of where he was to where he is now. And I'm so glad that I went. It took me 4 years to toy with the idea. And even another mate that lives local here, he got done too, and he spent 4 years talking me into it. And, it's one of the best decisions I've ever done. Ever since having it, I swear every third person I meet has had it. And, but everyone treats it differently. Some people treat it as being the fixer of all things. And then they become super fat again after the 3 year mark. But then other people are like, okay, it's a reset on life. And that's where I'm at. It's the reset on life. So I have changed the way that I meal prep. I changed the way I exercise. I changed the way I just do my life. I avoid fast foods. I have avoided alcohol until recently. I've gotten back onto it. But now it's like I don't drink beer. I drink zero sugar. I'm very mindful of what I eat and drink now.
Calories.
Because I don't want to go back to be it was such.
Because you can just stretch it out again, right?
Exactly, and it's so easy.
What were you doing to mentally cope back then, other than the skydiving? How were you getting through the Monday to Friday?
It was drinking.
You were drinking.
And there was and lots of people don't know this, but there was lots of times where I was contemplating taking my life, and it wasn't worth. And I'd be on the phone to my mum and dad, and it was hard, but I'd given up. I'd literally given up on life.
Trapped.
Yeah, I was getting bullied because of my weight. I was getting bullied because Dad had already gotten involved early in my career. So I was at a point where I was like, fuck it. When I ended up in hospital, Mum and Dad flew up instantly. And I'm so glad that I've got the parents that I've got. They dropped everything to come up. And then because Dad was a safety officer in the Army, he knew the brigade safety officer, and he made sure that the brigade safety officer was checking into me on hospital and making sure that I was okay. But, there was a time where I was like, you know what, I'm not going to let myself be the victim anymore. So I went out and did a certificate 2 in security, and I became a bouncer. So it was the only way I could get something back in my life. So I was bouncing Monday, Fridays, and Saturday nights in Mitchell Street in Darwin.
Any scuffs?
Towards the end of bouncing in Darwin, yes. My first scuff was with an off-duty police officer, and that was an eye opener, because that was my first fight in my life, that I'd actually had to stand up for myself and deal with the situation. But Darwin's a fun place when it comes to scuffs, and no one really likes bouncers. So I was trained by a bouncer by the name of Mel. She was a young petite little 18-year-old girl at the time. And she just knew how to talk people down and talk them out. Oh, yeah. And that's what she did to me. She trained me in that exact way. And then I trained Dad years later when he became a bouncer. So, it's not about getting in the fist fights. It's all about talking them down and getting them out the door, because it's, anyone can get into a scrap. But why? Because it just leads to paperwork. The only times we had to get into scraps were because people were they were so intoxicated that they were just looking for a fight. They were so off their face on drugs, or they'd already started a fight with somebody else, and we just had to come in, finish it up, clean it up, and take them away. But, one of my most memorable ones would have been on an Anzac Day. Would have been probably, can't remember, I think maybe in 09. We had Anzac Day, and I was working at Shenanigans, and big fight broke out. It was just, just huge fight broke out, and there would have been about 200 plus people there, and there were only 3 of us bouncers. So we're calling in for all backup bouncers to come in, and the cops came in, and the riot cops came in, and they had their pepper spray, but not just normal pepper spray. It was the fucking party packs. Like I'm talking like 2-liter power packs, and they just one copper comes in with 2 hands and he just laces everyone. And I remember getting hit in the face and dropping like a sack of shit. And as I dropped down to one knee, I remember just getting like picked up over the shoulder, and it was his name was Adrian. He was the owner of the security company, this big roid munching guy. I'm up over his shoulder. He's got 2 of us, one on each shoulder, and he's running us out the back, and I'm like hitting this guy in the back. So I don't know what the fuck's going on. I've just been laced with pepper spray. and next minute we're both in the cold room, and he'd gotten all the guards in the cold room. They'd just been pepper sprayed, and we're all sitting going, what the fuck is going on? But yeah, no, it was yeah. So yeah, I did that, but
So that brings back to the original question of going through all of that.
Yeah.
What made you think that was going to be different the second time?
Second time in, I don't know. Like, but I think going back for the second time, it was mainly because I didn't get to have my ending the first time. I was bullied. And beaten out to the fact that I didn't get to finish my career the way I thought I was going to be a lifer. Like, I've got photos at home of me wearing my very first uniform with Dad back when I was like 3, 4. Like, I remember when Dad was a troop sergeant at the school, or maybe when he was a wing, I can't remember when it was, but he would take me out on Pucker Range in our van, our Mitsubishi van, and like go out and visit the digs. And we'd overnight there, and I'd sleep in the back of the van. I'd have a mattress and whatnot, and I can't remember who they were, but people used to bring me hot chocolate and Kit Kats. Like I've just got these fond memories, like and I always thought I was going to be a lifer, and because I didn't get to have it the way I was, I thought getting back in I missed the black and whiteness. I did not miss the bullying and all that stuff, but at the same time, I'd also spent a lot of time with psychiatrists and psychologists to bury all that stuff deep, and I buried it deep. Working for a bouncer, between getting out, before I got out and then getting out, I think I just wanted to get back in. So I got back in, became a truckie, went to the 3rd Combat Signals Regiment, until 2Cav posted to Townsville, and then they're like, "Oh, you're ex-Armoured and you're a truckie? You're dual certed. We've got the posting for you, Jason. If you take this posting, we'll give you a 2nd stripe." And I was like, sure. The 2nd stripe never came. Not for about 8 months later. So I won't lie, I was very nervous about going back to an armoured unit. The army's big enough where I was like, you know what? All that happened in that little like microscopic part of the army. I've got so many postings. I'd already met lots of truckies. I knew truckies from when I was in the first time. I knew lots of clerks that I used to work with the first time. Like I knew plenty of people. So I was like, it'd be pretty cool. And 2Cap was great. When I posted in there, I knew what I was walking into. I got on more with the Lineys, with the Cav boys, than I did with the truckies. And they are a complete different breed to tankies. But they were awesome people, and everything was going all well and good until my injury in 2016, where I was ordered to do something that I wasn't meant to do, did it, and got in trouble for it, and then through punishment, my back went pop, 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 and I found out 2 weeks after that I had prolapse discs L3, 4, 5, and S1, and then because I chose to seek medical help for that, I got punished by getting put onto a school cadet camp, which then opened up a whole bag of worms, because I watched cadet kids bully cadet kids, which then triggered a whole bunch of stuff inside me. And then one of the main offenders of what happened to me was posted to Cav as a sergeant at the time. So between my physical injuries happened, bullied by chain of command, forced onto a cadet program when I should have been getting medical aid, led to me having a massive psychotic breakdown, which led to the end of my military career.
What did the psychotic breakdown look like?
It led to me Spartan kicking a kid, locking myself in a room, the 2 Cav guard and guard commander having the 2 Cav guard and duty officer having to come kick the door down to get me out. Me not going down without a fight, being taken back to the guard room, to me telling the duty officer that he's fucked. And everyone's fucked because by morning I'll either be in psych or I'll be fucking dead. And then next morning I reported to the Laverack Barracks Medical Centre, and I was rushed through and put on meds. So, you know, as soon as that happened,
no more driving.
No more anything.
No more fun.
Yeah,
No
but
guns.
and that was all before my back got diagnosed, and like it just So it's like, you know, my career was split into two. Both times I both didn't get to leave on my own free will, and I've come a long way. I've come a long way since 2016, and you know, after all the things that happened to me over the years, I've become a better person, and I'm definitely a stronger person. Like my skin is like fucking Teflon. Shit does not stick to me, eh? You know.
How long did it take you to?
Years.
Yeah.
Years.
Lots of psych work or alcohol abuse and all that sort of stuff as well.
There was alcohol abuse. There was lots of therapy. I wasn't bad enough for him to make me an inpatient, but I pretty much lived in psychiatrists and psychologists' offices. 2 Cav was a very toxic place at the time too, where I was on so many medications that I don't even remember going to and from work. I'd wake up in the morning, have a morning coffee, I'd blink, and I'm in headquarters, and I headquarters 2 Cav, and I've got no idea how the hell I got here. And then I'd tell the rehab sergeant this, and he's like, "Okay, no worries." And I was like, "Should I even be here? Should someone be picking me up and dropping me off? Maybe like, what if I have an accident?" And they're just like, "We'll deal with it when we get to it." Mm-hmm. And you know, once again, I know the Army's come a long way, and especially like I get on with the current CO and RSM of 2 Cav really well these days, and the culture up there has changed so much. But at that time, it was a bad, toxic place. And it was so bad that the discharge rate was through the roof, and they had to bring the psych unit up to the regiment, and they gave us all forms about, you know, how everyone was feeling and whatnot, and they weren't happy with the results, so we were all told how to answer the forms, so they wouldn't get in trouble. So yeah, it was good times. But yeah, these days I'm like Teflon. Shit just does not bother me. Like the odd thing gets me. I still get anger issues. I still that one member who was at 2 Cav as a sergeant is still currently in and is now an officer at an armoured unit in Brisbane. And he scares me.
How do you know? How do you keep tabs on him? People, just from mates?
Oh, social media.
Oh.
Mate, no one can hide from anyone these days. You know, social media is everywhere, which is another great point. You know, back in the earlier days of your career and my career, you know, back when social media first came out and camera phones came out, holy shit, I remember almost being charged because I was in the background of someone taking a photo, putting up on socials. And these days, you've got every brigade, ever since Buddy Pineapple Express started doing it, and they called themselves a mental health page, which I'm all for. That those guys are bloody brilliant at what they do. But you know, now all the brigades have their Facebook pages, and now all the units have their Facebook pages. So, when all the units post all their photos, you can track people these days. But what was done to me, I wish never gets done to another person. What that particular individual has done to other people that I'm aware of, I wish never gets done to those people. I spoke up to ADFIS and I spoke up to the police, and it was my word against everybody else. So, I slipped on a bar of soap and everyone else was watching somebody else watch an ant. But, I really wish all these other people would take the time to step up and say things, because, although you think that somebody else won't, all it takes is a bunch of individuals to all flag one person, and that one person can, face the reality of what they've done and know that they're not protected. They're not protected by the green. But, it is what it is. Hence the reason I am the person I am today. I get reached out to by a lot of, so these days I do a bit of scuba diving, but I also check in on my mates. The amount of mates that I have that I've talked down from suicide, or I treat them like a mate, and they're forever texting me and messaging me. And, you guys all know who you are. They're just like, thanks, mate. You're a 1 in a million, mate. You've helped me out. Without you, I probably wouldn't be here. To me, that's just me being a mate, because that's just all I know. But I try to help people out where I can, especially veterans. I never want to see someone go through what I went through. I never want to see a person who is just feeling down or even just not even going what I went through. I never want to see someone feeling what I felt and not feel that there is light at the end of that tunnel. When I used to own a dive shop, I had a transit van, a school bus, and I used to drive up to the Townsville private precinct, the private psych ward up there that was full of either veterans or serving members, and I'd fill my bus with people, now mates, and I'd bring them back down to my dive shop, and I'd be like, let's have a coffee. From here, we will, learn about some scuba equipment, and then I'd take them to the pool, and we'd do a try dive, and I'd take them scuba diving, and just to help break up the four white walls of the room, or I'd teach them how to pull a regulator apart or pull a tank valve apart and put it back together. So just so they're doing things, so they're not thinking about the shittiest day on earth. They can do things to move forward. And all it was me being a mate. I didn't think that I would actually have that much influence on those people's lives.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just where I am these days. Like,
was there a big turning point where it sort of, you went from feeling stuck and in that darkness to moving out of it?
I can't pinpoint it. I definitely can't pinpoint it, but I can say that it took me exactly 7 years post getting out, so not too long ago, to get over it all, and to find. I wouldn't even say I've found my place in this world, but I can live without the army. I can stand up on my own 2 feet. I don't miss it as much as what I used to miss it. Like, I miss. So the second time I was in, all my mates from the first time in were all sergeants and warrant officers, where I was back to being a digger and a lance corporal and a corporal. And even now, like, all my mates that I was corporals with are all like warrant officers and what now. I miss the mates, and I miss the chat and day to day. but I can live without it too. Like, you know, I've done enough in the outside world where I'm quite comfortable where I am and I can move forward in life. And I don't get I don't get worked up on lots of things. I guess the only thing that still works me up, and not as much as what it used to, is still that grey area. You know, when you ask someone, like, you know, it's like, hey man, do you want to do something next week? Oh, I don't know. You know, maybe, possibly. Fuck, it's either a yes or no. You know, it's and just pick a day.
Yeah. Even with this podcast, it's evident. Like, people ask me if there's many cancellations and all that sort of stuff. I'm like, no.
Yeah,
I do with veterans. They say they're going to do something, they do it.
And you know, like until I'd probably say 80% of my mates are veterans. Like, I don't have a large civilian populace.
No,
of mates.
I've got a handful of civvy mates.
Yeah, and even those civvy mates, like, you would think they were veterans. You know, and that's just because I've definitely matured over the years. And like I was saying before, like, you know, being Teflon, like, I've learned so much in life. I regret some things that I did, and I regret things that happened to me, but I think everything gets done for a purpose. And, you know, I wouldn't say I feel like I'm 6'2" and bulletproof, but I will not take as much shit as what I used to.
Knowing everything that transpired, would you, if you went back to being a 17-year-old, would you do it again?
Yep. I would do things differently in hindsight, but I still would have always joined. You couldn't have talked me out of it. Like, Mum tried making me a school teacher and it didn't work out. So, you know, would I have gone with the army? Most probably not. I probably would have picked something else like Navy or Air Force. You know,
if you had sons, would you let them join?
I want to say yes, but at the same time, I would be the protective dad that my dad was to me. But I would have also done it differently too, because, you know, if not being in, I'd be the veteran dad, which, you know, I don't get access to base and whatnot, but I'd be able to give advice instead of going to chains of command and chat to people. I would have given helpful, friendly advice on how to mitigate or how to deal with those types of situations. But once again, it's a completely different military today to what it was back then.
It's definitely a lot less of it now.
Yeah. You know, like there's definitely, like, they're still there. Even at my second time in, it was still there, but I used to also stomp the shit out of it too. You know, if I saw bullying going on or any type of that, or just, you know, like there's a difference between discipline and bullying, and you know, like, discipline's one thing, but, you know, bullying was another. And if I saw bullying going on, I'd stomp it out in a heartbeat. And I was I used to love being a defending officer. So especially when I first got injured, they made me, like, they're like, oh, you know, you're just you can't do your job now, so, you know, you're going to be the defending officer. And I was like, righto. First time I was like, didn't know what I was doing. And then I learnt what I could do and couldn't do. And I used to love being defending officer because, you know, people would try to charge people for stupid things. Like, one of the kids I had to defend was, he was being done for, I can't remember the charge, but he kicked, he was ordered to go do something. Instead of going to do it, he went and kicked the garbage can. And so he was being done for something. And I was like, yes.
Direct order or something.
Yeah, something like that. And I was like, I'll get you off this. And he's like, oh, no, like, you know, like they've got it pretty sealed. And I'm like, I'll tell you a loophole that I didn't know about. He's like, oh, what's that? I'm like, come for a drive. Jump in the car, get out to the 3 Brigade legal office, because, you know, they're not doing much anyway down there. So, you know, pop in, see legal. G'day, guys. Got this charge sheet. You know, how can I go about defending it? And they give you all the evidence. Like, they give you everything you need to get the case over and done with. And I was like, sweet, I'll take that. I'd go back, and then the prosecutor would come over to me and goes, oh, you need to give me all your evidence. I'm like, no, I don't. The manual clearly states you can hear it on the day when I present it. And then the Fox would come. Oh, sorry, the the squadron sergeant major will be like, nah, you've got to like, hand on. I'm like, nah, don't sir. It says in the permit. If you're going to give me the shit jobs, I'm going to like, if I'm going to do a job, I'm going to do it well. So, I used to enjoy that.
Well, the podcast you said you were listening to today is Cam Niven. He's taking great pleasure in sticking it back to the...
Oh, absolutely. When I was listening to his podcast on the drive here today, I was just like, yes, I do enjoy that. Like what he did just remind me of myself so much. I was just like, yep. Could I be an MP? No. But then when I heard about him and Jared at that march out parade, I was just like, I remember seeing him on the video. I was wondering, who'd be brave enough to wear that on the at a march out parade. But it just explains the person. Got a great man, like legend status in my eyes.
So you got out in 2016, medical discharge.
Yep.
Did it take a while for that to go through? Probably 12 months or something.
No, they rushed me out pretty fast.
How did they?
Yeah. But it was a process. So once again, back in 2016, DVA wasn't as good as what they were now. So when listening to a lot of your podcasts and people are like, people shit can DVA, rah, rah, rah. I was one of those people back then. These days, I'm like, they do a solid job now to what they can do. But back then, I was rushed out pretty fast. I was out, I think, within 2 months.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. As soon as my physio turned around and said, we can mend you and get you operational again, but it's going to take a long amount of time. And then even
How the
once
fuck did CMAC turn it over so quick?
he was like, we can get you fixed. And however, you can do all this damage again on a sit up on a BFA. And I was like, righto. But then I was also had all the mental health issues that were happening at the same time. So there was a med board done up at the regiment, and they had asked me which way I was going, and I was like, well, I don't know. And they were just like, you're probably better off on this option, getting out. And I was like, right, I'll get out. And then I think it was within a month. It was either a month or two. But I was out on a white card with none of my stuff had been lodged, none of it had been determined.
Yeah.
So I was
because now you have to wait for the claims to be accepted. So you never get held HIA until it's all fucking...
Yeah, well, I didn't even know what DVA was when I was being MEC discharged. Like, they're like, you need to pop down to the DVA office on base. I'm like, yep, righto. I'd walk down there and they're like, g'day, I'm such and such from DVA. And I'm like, sweet, what do you guys do? I didn't know anything. It wasn't until after I'd been MEC discharged out that I knew that there was a process. So then the process began. And then, put all your claims in, had most of my claims knocked back because, there's
no paper trail.
Wasn't even that. Civilians who do the determinations don't understand how tight we can be in the army. So they don't understand how bullying in the army ended up with me with PTSD, anxiety, and depression. They're just like, how? And it wasn't until I had my review board of that, where there was a Lieutenant Colonel that was sitting on the review board, and he was like, "Hey guys, like, this is how people operate," and it was all overturned, and all my conditions were accepted, and that took a couple of years. So when I got out in 2016, my parents and I bought a dive shop in Townsville because I needed some sort of job, but I was going through all my medical appointments. So, every single day there was a medical appointment. And how can a veteran get employed when you are literally spending 2 to 3 hours of every day of your work, going to medical appointments.
Time consuming.
Yeah. So at the time, you had your GP, psychologist, psychiatrist, your pain specialist, your neurosurgeon, and then you had DVA appointments. You had your
Physio.
Yeah, physio, EP, exercise physiology, sorry. And then you've also got like your return to work consultants.
Rehab consultants.
Rehab consultants. And so, I'm like, so mum and dad were just like, okay, we went 50-50 in buying a dive shop. And because they were just like, how else are you going to get employed? Like you've been kicked out, like you're out in your bum with a white card. And I was still, going through treatments and processes and everything. So, yeah, I had already become a dive instructor while I was already in the army. So we bought a dive shop and we ran that. So, and through that, I got to meet people. I got to meet civilians, and I got to meet people that weren't military or weren't veterans. Had a lot of backings from the guys I used to serve with in 2CAV because I made so many friends in B Squadron. Like out of all my postings and everything, my time at B Squadron 2CAV was the best time of my life. So they'd always pop in, buy stuff, do courses, or even just pop in for a coffee and make sure I was doing okay. And like through that, that's where I started getting a thicker skin and I started giving back. So I didn't even know TPC existed in Townsville. I didn't even know there was a psych ward like in the middle of town that was used for veterans and serving members and members of the public. But when I found out that one of my best mates was in there, I popped up there to see him, and then I met other veterans in there, and I was like, shit, I need to get these guys out of there. But what did I have to offer? I couldn't do anything except for bringing them back to the shop. So I'd bring them back to the shop and just get them out. And get them doing stuff. So, through there, I just did me, but then I started getting a reputation for it. So, the reputation was that bloody scuba diving, mental health, and Jason's a veteran. So, those three things combined can do wonders. And the amount of veterans and serving members I had come into the dive shop to either go scuba diving or learn how to scuba dive was just phenomenal. And then from there, we just become good mates. And mum, dad, and I treated the shop like everyone was extended family. We would have barbecues at the shop, and we started like a dive club, and everyone was extended family. And I treated everyone like family, and it was just the way it is. And and to this date to now, I stay in contact with a lot of those people, and we do lots of things together, and we go on international diving trips together, and we might hang out and go fishing. But it's just, I don't know. I feel like after the traumatic crap that I went through early in my life, that I don't want to see others go through it, and the only way other people won't go through it, or not go through it, but I can try and soften the blow for other people, is by being there to help pick their pieces up. So,
what do you think it is about scuba that's so healing?
Well, two things is one, neutral buoyancy. So neutral buoyancy is positive buoyancy, you're going up, negative buoyancy is you're floating down, but that neutral is that sweet spot right in the middle. So it takes the pain away, because being a bigger person or carrying stuff, like you're floating there in the water, and there's silence. There's no talking. There's no nothing. Yeah. Like all the veterans and serving members that I have taken, or even police officers, firefighters, ambos that I've taken scuba diving, they've all just said like, I can't believe how peaceful it is. And they're so distracted by the fish, the coral, or the shipwreck, or just all the stuff that's happening around them, that they don't even think about the voices in their head. They don't think about what's going on in life. They're just distracted by all the things that happen underneath. So, the first couple of times we do, just normal underwater scuba diving, and then one time I might pull out the underwater scooters. So we pretend like we're James Bond, and we get on these scooters that do about 20 k's an hour. And we just scoot underwater and do backflips and have a fun time. Or for some of the guys, some of the boys and girls, I'll pull out the full face mask. We'll put the full face masks on and go out and have a bit of fun and run some communications. Or we might drop some heavy objects and take lift bags down, and I'll teach them about how to lift objects up from the bottom of the ocean. So, I I just try to I don't know. I've just had so much fun through scuba diving that I just try to give it back to other people and just try to extend that olive branch to, have other people experience what I've experienced and just grow up from there.
Yeah. I know the first, 10, 20, 30 dives are like just fucking pure magic.
Yeah.
It's how like you and I got addicted. Do you find that you still have that? You still have that, hundreds of dives later, you still feel that?
Yeah, try thousands of dives later, and the only difference is being the inner thrill seeker I am. I need that bit of I need that endorphin of
That's
being
where you
that
get the scooters and stuff.
Yeah, or the depth. So a 5 meter dive doesn't do it for me. A 30 meter dive doesn't do it for me. 40 and beyond. Yeah. So I went over to Bali 2 years ago and I did a 100 meter dive course.
Yeah, right.
And you don't think there's much to see down to 100 meters, but there was a thresher shark. There's like lots of beautiful coral. And I just got hooked because then the other thing that I learned was because most dives are only qualified to go, 30, 40 meters, all the cool shit's untouched after that.
Yeah.
So, you start going to some of these shipwrecks that are a bit deeper, especially over in Truck Lagoon. And one wreck in particular is the San Francisco Maru. In the officers' quarters there at 50 meters, they've still got all the cutlery. So they've got cutlery, plates, cups, it's all Japanese just sitting there. And it hasn't been touched. It hasn't been pilfered because, your everyday Joe Blow can't go that deep. It's only the experienced divers, like experienced and qualified divers, and the people that get into that type of stuff are the people that have the respect that, we touch with our cameras.
Take nothing but photos, leave nothing but bubbles.
Exactly. And don't get me wrong, I've always wondered, some of that stuff would look nice in a cabinet, but at the same time, I want to preserve all that stuff for the generations to come. So, it's only going to be so many more years until those wrecks are depleted, and they're going to make them no dive zones, and you don't want to start pinching stuff off those wrecks. So,
I think the best diving I ever did was in the Maldives.
Oh my God! Yeah,
you go outside of the barrier reefs, which isn't far from the islands because there's like 1,000 islands.
Yep.
And then it's just a wall.
Yeah, sheer drop off. Yeah.
And then I remember I was diving with a mate and just sort of cruising down and big fucking coral fans and stuff. And you look at, holy fuck, we're at 50 meters. We're going to run out of airspeed.
Yeah. We literally just had that back in May. So, so I took a group of 10 divers over to the Maldives in May. Don't ask me to pronounce the island that it was because I can't pronounce it for the life of me. But we predominantly went there for the tiger sharks. However, we did one tiger shark each day and the other 2 dives were just on a wall. And yeah, you're right. It was like 5 meters at the top and it just goes down and you're just following stuff down. You're like, oh shit, I'm at 55 meters. And then there's another drop off. You look over the drop off and you're like, damn, that's deep. And then, you come back to the dive guides and they're like, we don't know how deep it is because, it's just, no one goes that deep. And then, talk to the boat skippers and they're like, oh, it's a 300 meter drop off. And you're like, damn.
One thing I love about over there as well is you just pop up wherever you pop up.
And the boat comes gets you.
There's no fucking trying to find the boat.
Oh, mate, the luxury over there. When I first experienced that down in Victoria, so all my technical dive training was done down in Victoria. And I was like, the first time we had to pop the S&B up and the boat comes up, I'm like, what is this? I don't need to swim 200 meters back to a boat.
Yeah.
But
so many times on that liveaboard, me and my mate would just go adventure off and then we're like, oh, fuck, where's the boat?
Oh, look, in saying that, you do it a few times and your underwater navigation becomes bloody spot on. So especially when you own the dive shop, you become a master. You're like, okay, this coral, right, this is where I am. There's only the odd time I pop up, I'm like, son of a bitch. Right, guys, we're practicing the tide diver toe. I'm going to inflate my BCD and lay on my back, and you guys will tow me back to the boat.
200 meters in current.
Yep.
Fuck. Yeah, we used to do it was called Big Cat Reality, actually. So it's on Amazon. They've turned it into a fishing charter boat now.
Yeah, right.
The liveaboard I used to work on, Big Cat Reality, it was called. Now it's Big Cat Fishing Charters. And I saw them on fucking Amazon. There's a fishing show on Amazon that they're on.
Yeah, good.
That was cool.
Yeah, well, I've only moved down here 4 weeks ago, so I've
I was
just
going to say you're still up there now.
yeah, no, literally. I've been with my wife now for coming up on 10 years, and next year is our 5-year wedding anniversary. But being together 4 years, I closed my shop down just post COVID. We closed down the big shop, and I started running as an independent instructor. And but it was earlier this year. The wife started coming home. Sonia started coming home from work, just not as happy. Like, she didn't have the spring in her step and wasn't happy. And I just said, "What's up, babe?" And she's like, "Just over it. I want a scenic change and I want a job change and whatnot." I'm like, "Okay, where do you want to go?" I'm like, "Pick a capital city. Let's just go." And she's like, "Well, we've got friends and family in Brisbane, so it'd be good to go to either Melbourne or Sydney or something." But we didn't want to go anywhere too isolated, because like if we didn't go anywhere with no support, then we didn't know how it would affect my mental health and my rehabilitation. Because even though I'm Teflon, we all have our days. I've one of my best mates lives down here in North Lakes, and another one of our friends lives up on the sunny coast, but we've got family a little bit out west of Caboolture. So we decided to pick Brisbane. So I said, "Fuck it, let's move to Brisbane." And she's like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yep." So within a week, I had her bloody headhunting for jobs down here, and no one would take her because they were afraid of people accepting jobs and not moving down, or like getting homesick and quitting. Oh. So I told her to pack her bags and find a job down here. So we moved her down here, and she found a job. And as soon as she found a job, I packed up the house up there, put it on the market, and moved down here myself. So yeah, only been down here 4 weeks. So
yeah, right.
It's hard coming back here after being away for 25 years.
A bit different, a bit busier.
So I went back and checked out Grace Lutheran College the other week. I was like, damn, it's doubled in size. But bloody Mango Hill and North Lakes and all that,
it's its own city up there.
Well, it barely existed.
There was a big golf course and a little couple of rows of houses. The golf course has been converted into fucking housing estates.
Exactly right.
Imagine those people that bought on the golf course, how pissed off they would be.
Oh.
They lost it.
Yeah. So I get lost down here. But it's so cute too, because when I take the dogs to the dog park and whatnot, and people are talking about, like youth crime and stealing cars, I'm like, bro, I've just come from Townsville. I'm like, your one stolen car a night's nothing. Like, we're dealing with 15 a night up there. So
are you up there in North Lake?
No. So I'm out near Kilcoy.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So we got horses, so we need some acreage.
Yeah.
So need some acreage. So
pretty far from the ocean there, mate.
You know what? Like it is and it isn't. It's only an hour drive, which it's not that much. So in Townsville it was 20 minutes to get anywhere, but it was an hour to get to the Yongala, which was our major shipwreck up there. So an hour to me it's worth the commute. It's an hour to get to the city. It's an hour to get to the sunny coast. Like, it is what it is, but we also get the acreage so we can have our horses with us. I'm trying to get back into doing the light horse stuff again. So I've just teamed up with one of the light horse groups down here who are affiliated and do work with 214, which is pretty cool. And I'm just finding my way around the dive shops to relaunch, or not relaunch, but I'm going to start running my little dive business again. So teaching technical diving in and around Townsville, helping out the veteran community, taking veteran scuba diving, run a little bit of dive travel, and just help out and just do little things to keep my brain ticking, keep my hands working. So because I just don't want to. I've done so much progression, so much work from my injuries and from all the stuff that happened to me that I don't want to go backwards. And I'm afraid that now that I've moved here, if I don't do something, I'm afraid that I'm either going to fall into a bottle, or I'm going to go down the drug route or something. And just because I've got nothing else to do, and I don't want to do that. Like, I've come so far, and then even the last 18 months, with the gastric sleeve, like I've worked so much now on my physical fitness that I'm physically I'm half the man that I was, but mentally I'm still double the man. Like, yeah, I've gone from 120 kilos down to 60 kilos.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and I don't want to get fat again. But I don't want to be in a mental space where I'm going to do anything silly either. So yeah.
So you're just doing like independent work as a
yeah,
dive instructor?
that was the word I was trying to think of. Was just being an independent dive instructor. So I run my own little side hustle, my own little side business. So I run my Facebook page and my little website, and I do my own little casual work. So it's Warrior Dive Adventure. So
Warrior.
Yeah, Warrior. So I got the name from back remember years ago when they had like their Pill 1, Pill 2 on the BFAs, and you were the Spartan Warrior if you got the Pill 1s, and you used to get like I don't think it was the whole army. I'm pretty sure it was like 3 Brigade. But they'd give you a little brown T-shirt and it had like a Spartan Warrior on it, and I was like, "That's pretty cool."
Before they outlawed fucking Spartan imagery.
Oh yeah. Well, that was like 2 Cav B Squadron. We had the Grim Reaper. That disappeared real fast. So we want you to be a warfighter without being a warfighter.
Yeah,
So
it was fucking sunshine and rainbows.
yeah. So Warrior Dive Adventure is the name of the company. So yeah, we do everything from leading dives to teaching people to dive travel around the world. So
Nice.
yeah, so
I'll have to come on a dive with you.
absolutely. You know, there's more diving down here than Townsville, so let's just jump on a boat and head out.
Sounds good. Well, actually, I think I've still got my regs and stuff, wetsuit regs, some weights, fins, mask, snorkel. But I sold most of the other stuff.
Yeah,
Anything I could sell, I did sell, because I'm like,
as you do.
I got to a point where I was only going once a year, and then 2 years in a row, it's fucking horrendous weather. You know, you put so much planning and fucking time and money into it, like going over to Stratty or whatever, and then you get fucking seasick because it's choppy as fuck and you can't see anything because of visitor shit. And you're like, well, that was a waste of a fucking trip. And then it happened the second year, I'm like, yeah, no, fuck this.
Yeah, and I think that's why so many people now just focus on like the international travel. Because I even saw that when I ran the business up in Townsville. When I first did the business, we were diving every weekend. It was good. And then we went from diving every weekend to just being blown out most weekends. And then, that's where like for a dive shop, that's where the money's at. The money's not in the gear sales. It's in the actual diving itself. And, it just got harder and harder. And since coming down here and linking up with the dive shops down here, and they're saying the same thing. They just said that this has been one of their craziest seasons ever. Like I was going to go diving this weekend, but it's just been blown out. And, it's like you look at the coast and you're like, not seeing much, but
the fucking storms and
yeah, it's just crazy times.
You made a really good point about fucking keeping yourself busy, and so we talk about all the time on the podcast is that purpose and finding that thing to do, and not just letting your mind fucking sit and dwell and turn into alcohol and drugs, but finding something, whether that's a hobby, a passion, just doing something to keep yourself busy, super important. So
yeah, like and I'm always on the hunt for things. Like I had a silly idea the other week. I said to my wife, I was like, back when I was a kid, like in high school, I did school cadets, and we had this parent come along who was he was Corporal Finlay to us. He'd wear the 2 stripes and he was Corporal Finlay, and he wouldn't act like one of the instructors, but he was one of our mentors. And he was ex-infantry. His 2 boys did school cadets, and he just came along, and it was so good. But he had to leave when cadets became super political and the parents came in. And I was like, it'd be cool to go back and do like stuff like that. Go back. Teach the kids what it's actually like in the in the army, like not what we do, but teach them proper cam and concealment. Teach them how to properly teach drill. Just do all like he was just a great mentor. But I'd also forgotten about the crap that I went through with the school cadets. when I busted my back and I watched all the kids in the bullying go on, and one of the truckies who helped look after me when I went through some bad times up at Armoured. She'd gotten out in the early 2010s, and her daughter had gone and joined the cadets up in North Queensland, and she went to go, do a bit like what Dad did for me. Like she went to go become a cadet officer to help mentor and spend more time with her daughter, but also help mentor and educate and give back. But she got bullied out by the parent committee because you've still got the parents in there that it's like, oh, I would have joined the army, but I would have punched out my RI. So I've gone home and watched Full Metal Jacket and Hurt Locker, and this must be how the military's run. And then because they get their little bloody blue pips and crowns and everything, it's just so like my wife brought that back in the reality, and I was like, yeah, that's true. But then the inner ADHD was like, nah, she doesn't know what she's talking about. I think I can do it. So then I took the conversation to the RSL, and I had a chat with the president of my local RSL, and he's like, you're a fucking idiot, Jason. And now I'm like, okay, I'm just not going to worry about it.
As an ex-truckie yourself,
yep.
As anybody that follows the Pineapple Express will know, the trucks fucking spearing in, rolling over, crashing on the highway. One just crashed in Enoggera the other day. What the fuck is going on with these truckies? Why are they all crashing all the time?
Dude, it's because none of them know how to just drive in general. Like, once again, I've been out over 10 years now, so I don't know what the new trucks have, but from what I've been told, they're not even manual. They're all automatic. Like even these new MAN trucks that replace the Mogs, apparently they're all automatic. So
yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, but you from what I hear and what I see, and just chatting to people that are still in, the army's just not what it used to be. It's gone more political than what it used to be. Like, we never cared about, the political genders. We never cared about, who the prime minister was and whatnot. But, then they take away our death symbols, and then they take away, then they take away the berets back in the day, because it can lead to skin cancer. Not the fact that I'd walk around outfield without my shirt on while I'm bashing track, but that won't give you skin cancer. But wearing a beret is going to give you skin cancer. I don't think I don't think the training is as mandated as what it used to be. And even recruiting, like you've got the odd defense recruiters. Like I keep saying back in the day, like I'm bloody ancient or something, but Defence Force recruiting used to be run by serving members. It used to be a rest posting. So, if you've been doing, deployments back to back or training commands back to back, for a rest posting, you'd go to DFR and you wouldn't be the actual recruiter. You could be the admin out the back, or you could be in a medical role, or, it was all run by defence. Since outsourcing it, man, it's become a political game. And even while I ran my dive shop, I met a person, who was a civilian manager at the local DFR, and she openly told me, she said it's all about the quotas, and they get a commission on their quotas. So, we could be recruiting, you could be the fittest white male, and you could be super fit and smash your PFA and everything, and you want to go truck driver, but the quota for this week is a pink head, non-binary, bloody 16 bloody piercings on your bloody left side of your face. So that ultimate person that would be like, a career lifer, and you could probably see making a career out of it. gets told, no, come back in 12 months. But, you know, that person bloody over there is like, I will, you know, lower our standards just so we can get that person over the bar so I can make a commission.
Yeah. You hear that across the board with emergency services, paramedics and fireys and stuff as well. It's like, well, we need 12 chicks this month. So just because they're female, not because they're the best candidate. I mean, plenty of females are fucking good candidates, but like you said, there could be someone that's a hard charge and fucking best person for the job, and they won't get picked up because they've got fucking quotas to fill.
Yeah, absolutely. And that should not affect our military, you know, and that is like...
You know, DFR, their commissions should get paid when that fucking soldier, when that recruit gets private P, I reckon, because they're fucking pushing people through.
They do. This is the thing. So they get a signing bonus, and then they get bonuses throughout the whole entire career. So they get the signing bonus, the bonus when they leave Kapuka, the bonus once they leave IETs, and the bonus once they do their first year in their unit. Now, I don't know how true it is, but this came from a person who was a manager of a team at a DFR. So, and I was just like, wow.
Because a lot of them aren't getting a private P because they're fucking getting to the unit underprepared because they're not. There's no gates anymore. They don't have to pass a BFA at fucking Kapuka anymore. I don't think they even have to pass a BFA at Singo. They just push it through as that's the unit's problem. So I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
So yeah, people are getting into the unit, and the unit doesn't give a fuck where you came from. They expect you to be ready when you get there. So they're like you said, fucking welcome to the unit. We're going field tomorrow.
Yeah.
This is your fucking pack list. Put on your back. Let's go.
Yeah.
And they're getting broken immediately.
Yeah. Well, see, that's another one. It's like I'm going to say I've heard. I've heard of certain people who had joined just to get a payout in a card.
I've heard of that too. Yeah. I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just
people
like
that have done a couple of weeks of Kapuka, discharge, put in for depression and anxiety.
Yeah.
Because they've had friends that have done it and they know that they can get looked after for the rest of their life.
Yeah. And like I'm going to say I heard because I don't want to put myself too far in the shit. But, you know, it's like that type of individual, I don't know how they've got a conscience. Like, and yeah, but I guess that was their whole purpose. Like their purpose was never to serve their country, have a career, or do something meaningful. Their sole purpose was I see it a bit like the baby bonus back in the day. Like, you know, I join up, I get myself a mischief, and I get a payout and I'm looked after for life. Which is funny because my little brother, who's still in now, when he went through Kapuka the first time, he was going to go Armoured Crewman, except he was smart. He was going Cav, and he snapped his ACL on the RDJ, the run, dodge, jump, at Kapuka, and instead of fixing him, he was booted out. He was like, "There's the door," and it took mum and dad a lot of time and a lot of fighting for the army to pick up the cost of his medical bill to get his knee reconstructed.
Oh, really?
So yeah, mum and dad originally picked up the original tab on it, and then it took ages to get defence, because defence's policy at the time was, you're a recruit, you're not a soldier. You're not a soldier until you graduate.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so 24 hours.
Yeah. So what year was that? That would have been 05? No, 06, because I went through 05, so he went through 06, his first time. So then, yeah. And, you know, for a kid who we thought was never going to be in the military, he went at the age of 17. He had a complete knee reconstruction. And then he redid his physical fitness, and he went back in, but he was smart this time. He looked at dad and went in. He went in as a cargo spec. So although dad was road transport and I ended up road transport in the end, he went as a cargo spec. And I tell you what, if I had my time again, I'd go cargo spec.
In a RAF?
No, in the army. So cargo specialists in the army, right? So they They are the wharfies. So they operate all the cranes and all the massive forklifts, loading cargo on and off boats, and on the LCM8s and whatnot. That boy has been deployed everywhere, like everywhere. And I'm not just talking about the sandpit. Like anytime there was a natural disaster, like he was over there. The only deployments I'd ever done was the Brisbane floods, which I was down here for 3 weeks, which that was another good like adventurous story, another great story. But and then Cyclone Yassi. So the Brisbane floods, like it was traumatic experience for anyone that went through it. But as a because it was the very first time that the ADF had been deployed in a recovery role
in 2011.
Yep. And to this day, I still can't get my national emergency gong for it because I was 3 days short because the doctrine says that you need to have done either 20 or 25 days for that one. But every other natural disaster after that, you need to do a minimum 3 days. And I've gone back to them and been like, what? And they're like, oh, because it was the very first one, we weren't too sure. And then, we've made it lenient after that. But we did so much. We did so much during that cleanup. We did everything from sandbagging the night before the floods. So we were down in Queen Street, sandbagging Rossley not Rossley.
Rosalie.
Was it Rockley?
Rockley down south.
Other side of the river, maybe?
A little bit further down the river. Rosalie's in Paddington here. That got pretty heavily flooded.
Then it must have been Rosalie then we were at. So we were in there sandbagging and whatnot. And then we didn't even sleep that night because if we weren't sandbagging, then we were evacuating people to the Gabba. And then when the carnage came, like when the flood came through, we spent the next couple of weeks doing the cleanup, and it was utter carnage.
It was fucked. I was down at St. Lucia in the cleanup.
Yeah,
and it was fuck. The army boys are just going through and just gutting houses. It was so fucking sad. Like so everybody was in the emergency centres.
Yep.
And they're not there, and the boys are just going through and just gutting their house, taking everything out, stuff that just could have been hosed off at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Photo albums, fucking everything. I'm like, these people are going to come back to a fucking empty shell. Nothing of their belongings is in the house anymore.
Yeah.
Fuck, it was sad. They just got trucks coming through and fucking taking all the tip.
Yeah, so I had a Morgan 8-ton. So I had a Morgan 8-ton, and literally we were getting each day we were getting police convoyed from Enoggera into suburbs, and we were teamed up with 2CR. I think it is at Enoggera there, and the combat engineers, and we were just going in, and we were just like, people were gutting their own houses out, and we were just picking it up off the road, putting it in, like the elderly people like were bringing their gear out, and we were going into their houses and helping them out. But it was the young kids that were the biggest like shitheads of them all. Like, and I'm just talking like 17 through to like 21-year-olds because they thought that we were just a free labour service. So they'd be sitting there in their front yard sinking piss, having a barbie, and saying, "Oh, come in here and get our crap out, mate." And we'd be like, "Nah, bud." I'm like, well, there's elderly people here and other people need help. Here's my truck. You can load it up with your own stuff. But no, I'm not here to I'm not here to pick up after you. But in the same token, the amount of people that were throwing out good shit, they were throwing out couches that hadn't even been touched or fridges because they were just like, insurance claim, So yeah, you'd spend maybe half an hour loading a truck, an 8-ton up, but then you'd spend the next 3 to 4 hours at the Garbo point, bloody waiting to get everything offloaded at the next end. It was crazy, but it was a great experience.
I think your dad was saying that your brother's going to have more gongs in him because of all the natural disasters he's done.
Oh, pretty much.
I was like, well, that don't count.
I don't.
Standing in a hotel lobby for COVID assist doesn't count.
Oh well, no, he never did COVID assist. But like he did like the Fiji, like all the natural disasters overseas. So being a cargo spec, being at 30 Terminal Squadron up in Townsville, they're always getting put onto the ships, and having to go out to do all the humanitarian aid stuff. So like he definitely most of the trips I would call piss trips. But he's a great kid and he's had an awesome experience. I wish I got to do half the stuff that he got to experience, but I'm so happy that he got the experience. I reckon to this date, I'm still the most unluckiest soldier for deployments in the Australian ADF. I don't reckon you could find a more unluckier soldier than me when it comes to deployments, because the first rotation that One Armoured had with SOTG, with the Bushmasters, I chose to go down to the school because of all the stuff that was happening to me at One Armoured. Then when I came back, they were like, okay, because One Armoured was known for being chubby little fellas back then. They were only letting people go that were pill 1, pill 2, because we were showing ourselves up to bloody SF on SOTG. So the IET kids, because they're coming fresh out of Kapooka and IETs, they're all super fit. So they're all getting put on these trips. So I was missing out on more trips. When I became a Choco, I missed out on a trip to Solomon Islands as a 6B driver, because I recommended, I got offered it. I got offered to have my name thrown into a hat, and I was like, oh, you should throw this guy's name in too, because I'm sure he'd be king. He got it. And then there was another trip to, that was Solomon's. There was a trip to East Timor. I was told I hadn't done enough field time as a Choco. And I was like, bro, I've just done bloody 4.5 years with One Armoured. Like, do you know how many times we go field? Like, when we go field, we go field. They're like, yeah, but it was as a regular soldier, not as a reservist. And I'm like, fuck righto. And then when I got back in, I'd been driving Ambos for a while. I didn't have my bells and whistles code, but I was driving an Ambo. So an ambulance position came up in Butterworth. They couldn't field, and I was like, yes, please. No, if you don't have your X code. I sorted out an instructor and everything. The instructor that was going to sign me off took the job. And then a trip came up for Iraq to drive the up armored SUVs while I was at 3 CSR. And we were told that bloody truckies are not here to be deployed. We're here to support the SIGs. So we had to train SIGs to go in our place. I'll tell you what, there is nothing more demoralizing than training a soldier who does not even have a civilian driver's license how to drive a G-Wagon, Land Rover, Morgan 8-ton before they go to the Gold Coast to do the up-armoured SUV course to go on your deployment. And then there was that. And then when I got the 2 cav, there was the MTF in was it 2016? I think it was. I was like, they said corporals and above, and I was like, yes, I finally get a trip. No, go and exercise, do that stupid shit that I was ordered to do, and bust my back. And so yeah, most unluckiest soldier. And look, a lot of my mates are like, like mentally, I'm saved a lot from a lot of the stuff that they saw overseas and a lot of the crap that went on. I'm like, yeah. I get that, but when you served almost 10 years and you've only got like a 4-year gong to show, because you've only got a 4-year gong to show for it. Like it took me until 5 years ago to even start wearing that gong. Because I'm like, it's the Coca-Cola gong. It doesn't mean shit to me. Like, yeah. And it wasn't until one of the guys who I actually like helped through some really bad times. I went with him to Capion Days. They just had their 55th, I think it was this year. So it was the 50th. I went to Capion Day with him, and he's like, "Where the fuck's your gong?" And I'm like, "Not running it around here. Look at everybody else." He's like, and he started chest poking me. He's like, "It's not the point. He goes, the point is you did your Rosso and you you served your country, you did your Rosso, rah, rah, rah. And I was like, meh. And he's like, do you know how many people don't finish a Rosso? Like they find any way just to get out because they just can't hack it. He goes, you did your Rosso plus some. He goes, yeah, you didn't get a trip. Shit happens. And so, yeah, I was like, right. And it was from there I started wearing my gong. So I was like.
That was going to be my next question. With all of the misfortunes and fucking trouble and stuff you had, do you feel proud of your service and rock up on Anzac Day and stuff?
I do. So on Anzac Days, I ride with the light horse. So I ride with the all the boys and girls that dress up as World War I light horsemen, and I dress up as a light horseman and do the rides. And I wear my 4-year gong, and I wear my my great granddad's medals. I got invited to my first Reggie Ball last year with 2Cav, and I was scared. I was just scared being in that environment, even though I knew 90% of the seniors, like senior NCOs, and I knew the CO and RSM, and like I knew lots of people, but being in that type of situation was very intimidating. But I'm getting better and better at it. Like I think it's also because I'm older too. Like, if it was like, if I was still young, like 18, 19-year-old Jason or something, or 21-year-old Jason, it would be completely different. But, I look at these kids and I'm just like, they're kids. And that's the other thing that shocks me is like, when you go to the, when you go see soldiers these days, you're like, fuck, they're young. And then you look in the mirror and you're like, fuck, you're old. But also like, only having the one gong, I'm in the One Armoured Association. I think I'm the youngest member in the Armoured Association because my generation don't want to sign up to that type of stuff because they think they're either too cool for school or like, they think it's just for like the old dogs. But I wore at that Reggie Ball, I wore my One Armoured Association pin, like the lapel pin, and I wore my Pineapple Express lapel pin, and then a light horse one that I've got. And this young kid came up to me and said, like he looked at me and then just squinted and looked at the One Armoured Association, and he goes, "Would you mind if I shake your hand?" And I'm like, "Okay, sure." What? And he's like, "Thank you for your service." And I'm like, "Fuck for, mate." He goes, "You're one of the old dogs, like from One Armoured days." And I'm like, and he's like, like you're a part of association, so you've been around. And I'm like, I guess so, but I'm like, I didn't fucking deploy or do anything, bro. Like, like the only reason I'm really here now at this night is like, I like talking to the younger generation, and I like mentoring, and I like I'm not so much networking, but it's like I like hearing how the Army has changed and developed, and I like seeing that it's changed. Like not always for the better, but there's definitely not as much bastardization, bullying, and crap goes on these days that it did back in the day.
Mm. Yeah, for sure. Well, good chat, dude.
Yeah, man. Felt like it went for ages.
Did it? Most people were like, fuck, that felt like it was just done.
I guess it did, but it's just like, just start waffling, it just starts going. Like, I know it's like in my head, last night in my head, I was like trying to structure something in my head, like, what's he going to ask about? What should I talk about? What shouldn't I talk about? And then today I was like, I've just literally jumped all over the place. Like some of the talk was like in the early days, some of the day was like later on. I'm like, some shit's just not going to make sense to people. And I'm like, what, fuck it. End of the day, everyone's got a story. And I think that's what I love about your podcast. Like I stumbled across your podcast by absolute sheer mistake. And I was like, Grey Man, the fuck's this? I'm like, veteran owned. I'm like, oh, fuck, not another one. and I listened to the first one and I can't even remember what it was. It was one of your early ones. I just got hooked instantly.
Oh, nice.
And then I just started getting hooked more and more. And then just got to the point where I was like, when the fuck is this guy going to release another one? Like, it's been a couple of days. Like, fuck me. Do I really need to find something else to listen to? And then I started and then when you had Rod Henderson on, I listened to his and I was like, I could just relate to his career. Like, there was so much the way he talked about his feelings and whatnot. I was like, holy crap. Like, I had similar feelings in certain aspects of my career. And then this other guest speakers you brought on, I was just like, it's crazy. And then I just got hooked. Yeah, and now I just tell everyone about it. And then when you had a couple other Vietnam veterans on, I was like, I need to get Crazy Lester on this show.
A Vietnam vet for you.
Yeah, because I was like, all these Vietnam vets all got out post-Vietnam. I'm like, fuck, he didn't get out till 2018. I'm like, literally, I was waiting for the Australian War Memorial to build a case for him, just like with a little hamlet that says like breaking case for war. But because there was a stint there where he was still in. I don't know if he talked to you about yesterday, but I can't remember if it was East Timor or beginning of Iraq. They were actually they were talking about, because he was a forward tracker in Vietnam, they were trying to bring him back in to send him up to Tully to start training the kids at 1 and 2 area how to do old school tracking.
Oh, really?
Well, because there was nobody else in, because everyone else was getting out post-Vietnam and he was still in, and they were just like, And yeah, it's just like during my career, a lot of the like sergeants and corporals that didn't know me, they didn't know Dad from Bar Soap, so they just, and he was a great no-man. Like he just did him. Like people knew who he was. Never gobbed off about it. He would tell you what for, and hence the reason my career went the way it did. But it was a lot of my mates who learnt who Dad was, and a lot of my mates who will listen to this podcast, who even met Dad when Dad was just ASWOC as a captain. He came to visit us at Kapuka on like one of the cheeky Sundays where you get to go up to Afghans. They're just like, your dad's a fucking bomb. And then bloody, they run into him over the careers where, like Dad would go field and bloody run into guys and like, give him bloody, like Dad would go out of his way to like, he got one guy like a pair of socks outfield, like because the kid couldn't get like a set of socks. He had worn through his socks and the Q store was being shit. So Dad like literally disappeared, got a new pair of socks, come back outfield and like, and just crazy shit like that. And then then you talk to other people who've known Dad and just they like it's just crazy, that man.
You said you guys all met up in you and your brother and him were up on an exercise in Shoalwater once. That's just another thing is like, three of us deployed all over Australia, and the only time we'd get together was on major exercises. And it's just like Dad would hit like so Sam being a cargo spec, he would be at like a certain staging area, or I was brought into a staging area, so we'd be in Shoalwater Bay, so the staging, the Rockhampton showgrounds. Dad would hear from one of us that like that, so that would both be there. So then he'd pop in, and then the three of us would have a catch up and whatnot, and it's crazy. like all those fond memories are just amazing. Yeah, nice. No, it's good, man. Thanks for reaching out and getting your dad involved as well.
Thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing future podcasts that you do and the future direction that you take this. Because I tell you what, when I first reached out to you, and I told you like I cannot wait for these podcasts to come out. Like I hang on every podcast, and well, it's just like I don't know. It makes my day feel better. Like I'll be servicing a client set of regulators in my workshop, and I put my headphones on, put your podcast on, just start servicing, and I have a bit of a chuckle, a bit of a giggle because, we're hearing about bloody just other veterans doing other veteran shit that we thought we were the only ones that do it or only ones that think about it. And we're like, nah, there's a whole community. Like,
yeah, we're all the same.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I actually interviewed a bunch of different countries when I was over in Thailand.
Yep.
So I was doing expats. And I decided just to open it up to any expats.
Oh, yeah.
Any expat veterans that were over there. So I did a US Marine that was a Vietnam Marine. Apparently he didn't mention it in the podcast because he's fucking pretty humble, but he's got 2 Purple Hearts apparently.
Yeah, right.
I found out afterwards. And then I did a UK Commando, UK Marine, which is the Commandos. and a UK Army officer.
Yeah.
And in all three of those chats, exactly the fucking same.
Yeah.
Their military is exactly the same. They get up to the same shit, the same banter, same shenanigans.
Yeah. I think this is also why we stick together so closely on the outside world too. Like that dark humor just sticks with us. And I find the same, like, you know, you can chat to other veterans from other militaries and we've all got the same dark humor. And it's like, you know, we can all be sitting around telling stupid shit and all calling each other fuckwits, but we all know it's like, it's nothing deep, like, and you can play it all off. But yeah, it's crazy how great the veteran community is. Like,
yeah. Like, I guess you probably agree, but having this sort of just open format, casual conversation sort of makes you feel like, you know, you're just catching up with the boys, or
100%.
you feel like you're in the room.
Yeah, man. Like the only other podcast that's even close to this is I Catch Killers with Gary Jublin.
I Catch Killers.
Oh yeah, Gary Jublin. He's
like a crime one.
Yeah, so he's a ex detective sergeant, or maybe detective inspector. Maybe he was the copper that got fired over the William Tyrrell investigation because he had it going in the right direction, and there were other circumstances. He's also in one of the underbellies. He's like one of the main stars in one of the underbellies. He's a great guy. He's so similar to you. It's just he does everything in the police world, and he does I Catch Killers because he interviews criminals now. So because he's like, well, fuck New South Wales police, like, you know. He goes, they threw me under the bus. So he started off interviewing all police officers. And then he started interviewing ex-cons, and it's just like some of the stories you hear are just like, wow. So yeah, I jump between both your podcasts. When I'm waiting for one of yours to come out, I jump onto his. When I'm waiting for one of his to come out, I'll come back. So you just got to keep punching these out.
Yeah. Every Saturday, mate. Never missed a day since I started.
Yeah, good.
I'm doing I'm dropping the Thailand ones on Wednesday, so it'll be 2 a week. For the next 6 weeks until I go through all those as well.
Yeah, good.
Nice. The last fucking Thailand one, the first Thailand one was the Fit Dad Lifestyle.
Yep.
Which he's got like 1 million followers. Fucking he's doing all right.
Yeah, right.
Traveling the world.
Yeah. Just
doing motivational dad quotes on Facebook. Fucking 900,000 followers.
Fuck.
But cool, man. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of it.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, brother.
Thanks, Harley.
Oi.
Hey, Ma, I don't think that I'll be coming home for long. Got some internal horse to fight alone. Hey, Dad, sounds of planes and bullets won't leave me alone. So I try to close my eyes and drown the noise. Hey, God, been a minute since the last time that we spoke. You know I ain't the best to keep in touch for long. Please tell Mom and Dad I'm gonna miss them when I'm gone. Make sure they know they've never been at fault. So please, Mom, don't you cry. You know that I was born to die. I know you'll keep me in your prayers and hope I make it home alive. Oh, hey, Dad, remember that young boy you once taught how to fight? He's scared of death and still regrets his weakness, makes you pay the price. Oh, brothers, I'm so sorry, I'm the one that made it home. I should be 6 feet under on my own. Hey, that's spending millions gearing me up for some war, but not a penny helping me come home. Lord knows there's no going back to normal anymore. Been 3 long tours, so fighting's all I know. So sad these politicians don't know greed comes at a cost. Then wonder why the hell I feel so lost. So please, Mom, don't you cry. You know that I was born to die. I know you'll keep me in your prayers and hope I make it home alive. Oh, hey, Dad, remember that young boy you once taught how to fight? He's scared of death and still regrets his weakness, makes you pay the price.